Good morning, Colorado. I'm Shannon Brinias. Thanks for joining us on this rather gloomy Saturday morning. If the NHTSA rule goes through as proposed, nearly all cars sold in the U.S. will be required to have AEB technology 3 years from approval. A new survey shows military service members are struggling with sleep fatigue. In the report, reviewed by KRDO 13 Investigates, some on active duty report that they've fallen asleep on the job, nearly crashing aircraft in some cases.
The wreckage of the collapsed Scott Key Bridge does more than just snarl this river. It blocks car carriers, cargo ships, and cruises from traveling in and out of the Port of Baltimore for some time to come.
This has a significant and a seismic impact economically, not just on Baltimore, but on the entire state of Maryland.
While this one ship was carrying cargo that fateful night, the company that chartered it, Maersk out of Denmark, plans to suspend all service in Baltimore. Baltimore currently ranks 9th in the nation for the amount of international cargo shipped in and out of here, with 52 million tons handled last year alone. Maryland's Governor Wes Moore sees the impact on the state.
We're talking about $191 million a day of economic activity, 8,000 jobs that are directly related to this.
There could be an increase in shipping costs as goods will now need to be moved through other ports. But to ensure the least disruptions, analysts at the federal level will be monitoring the situation. The Secretary of Transportation is worried about the livelihoods of port workers.
If goods aren't moving, they're not getting paid. So we're very concerned for them.
The overturning of Roe v. Wade in 2022 was a prelude to the significant case before the U.S. Supreme Court this week. Several anti-abortion doctors and medical groups are challenging the steps the Food and Drug Administration took to expand access to the abortion pill mifepristone, such as allowing the drug to be distributed through the mail.
Without question, the FDA's actions have made taking chemical abortion drugs less safe.
Taking the most reliable and a well-demonstrated safe drug off the market is a reckless act for a court to do. It's the FDA's job to make expert judgments about the safety of drugs like mifepristone. That's what they did here. Coloradans rely on this, and to force Coloradans to go either to a medical abortion or to a drug that's less reliable or effective, it's just wrong, and it goes against what the court said in Dobbs.
During oral arguments Tuesday, conservative and liberal justices questioned the abortion pill challengers on why a nationwide ban is needed if the doctors involved could simply exercise their own religious and conscientious objections individually. A decision in the case is expected by the end of June or early July, and AG Phil Weiser, who joined the case as part of a group of states filing an amicus brief, says it could have far-reaching consequences, potentially gutting the FDA's authority. The National Highway Transportation Safety Administration is looking closely at the improved technology that's being installed in new cars and whether it should be required, not just an option. The agency known as NHTSA has done it in the past. In May of 2018, for example, NHTSA changed its rules to require backup cameras as standard on all new vehicles. This new rule, if finalized, would do the same with automatic emergency braking and pedestrian detection systems. The technology automatically applies the brakes on your vehicle if a collision with a car, person, or cyclist is imminent.
Crashes and fatalities are on the rise in Colorado across the country. NHTSA estimates that this proposed rule alone could save around 360 lives a year and reduce injuries by at least 24,000 annually.
That means when traveling at 30 miles per hour, a speed reduction of just 10 miles per hour can reduce the energy of a crash.
That there's also an insurance component because automatic emergency braking significantly reduces property damage claims for insurance from rear-ending other vehicles.
Does the technology work?
Yes and no. Look, according to AAA research, when traveling at 45 miles per hour and approaching a static vehicle, the systems reduced speeds by 74% overall and avoided crashes in 40% of scenarios.
If the NHTSA rule goes through as proposed, nearly all cars sold in the U.S. will be required to have AEB technology 3 years from approval. And not only will the technology need to be installed, but it must work, specifically to stop and avoid contact with vehicles in front at speeds of up to 62 miles per hour, and also to detect and avoid colliding with pedestrians at night.
AAA's McKinley says some lives will be saved and many crashes will be prevented, but the technology isn't a complete replacement for an attentive driver. He calls it another tool that, when used properly, will help you drive more safely so long as you're committed to that.
There's going to be a lot of testing, a lot of development, and a lot of improvements. And finally, when we're talking about this years from now, I think we'll have really good and dramatically better automatic emergency braking